Thank you. Welcome to the Sister Fatima Hour.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sister Fatima Hodge. Welcome. All right, sisters and brothers. Today we're going to focus on the 360 unity between the black man and the black woman. Now, sisters and brothers, this world teaches us that the man is above the woman. And that the woman makes no decisions or will make an emotional decision. However, it doesn't make that decision a bad decision. It's just the fact that because the woman is, in fact, emotional by nature, that's who she is. And that is the response that will be given, right, from her, because that's who she is. So the world looks at that emotional response as being, not qualified. And when I say this, I'm saying you're not qualified to make any executive decisions because you are emotional. When making decisions, they feel as if you should focus only on, the logic of things, right? So we have to, and that, well, yes, exactly, of the logic of things, exactly, and not the emotional side of it. So I wanted to express that today and focus on the fact that the woman has a perspective and also the man has a perspective. And this world teaches us that the woman's perspective is not valid. And that is false, sisters and brothers. That is completely false. Because we have to understand that the woman and the man are equal, but we are different, sisters and brothers. We're different because I'm a woman and he's a man. We represent the beauty, and the man represents the strength, sisters and brothers. So, understanding that, we are one unit when we come together, right? She has the beauty and he has the strength, right? So we are different but equal. So we need to understand that, sisters and brothers, we're equal. You can do all the things that a man can do mentally, you can also do that as well, sisters. So they try to put us a degree below men, but that's not the case. Because you have very intelligent, smart sisters out here that are smarter than a lot of men. So you cannot use that as the source of saying that the woman is not valid because she is a woman. When she thinks and has the same mind, well, I wouldn't say the same mind, but she has a mind just like you. So she's able to think, speak, and express herself just like you are. Which is why this makes us equal but different. The difference is because we're the beauty and they're the strength. That's the only difference between us. One is stronger and one is more beautiful. And that's exactly what's taking place. So, a woman's perspective and a man's perspective, they may be two different perspectives, but they're speaking about the same idea, the same perspective, right? So, if that's the case, that means that it's the same. So, the point I'm making is that the man has a perspective and the woman has a perspective as well. They might sound different, but they're speaking about the same thing, just in two different perspectives. So if a brother comes to me and share with me something, I share, and I wouldn't say, "Oh no," to him or what he's saying because he may be saying the same thing I just said in another perspective, and he is saying in another perspective because he's a man, right? He would be saying as if he's focused on what I'm speaking about, right? Exactly, sisters and brothers. So we have to understand that we have to embrace each other's perspective because we are not sisters, we are not men, and men, you are not women. So it's impossible to understand each other, but to come together as one with your two different perspectives and you all coming together and figuring out which perspective is the right decision for what the situation is. So, for example, a man and a woman could be walking, right? With walking. They went for a walk, right? And someone could walk past them and accidentally you know, bump into them or step on their shoe or step on the man's shoe. The man first reaction was to turn around and punch the person because they stepped on his shoe or bumped into him. In the woman's perspective, she told you not to. She told you to keep walking. It's okay. Now, sisters and brothers, these are two different perspectives, right? Two different perspectives. But which one would be the right decision to make for that moment? And it would be, in my opinion, to keep walking, as the sister shared, because we don't want to cause any conflict, right? You don't want your husband to be in jail, which can lead up to those things if he was to go with what he wanted to do, which was punch or afflict that person that bumped into him. So he might be angry, because you can't keep walking but the best decision was to do that, right? So that shows alone that the two perspectives, they show the two perspectives right there. Neither perspective would be considered, I guess, a wrong perspective because the brother, right? Excuse me, sisters and brothers. The brother felt like he needed to defend himself, right? Which is what you feel when somebody touches you or hits you or anything of that nature, right? However, the sister's looking at the whole perspective of it all because she's looking at the focus of the fact that you might go to jail, babe. If you get into a brawl right here at the park while we're walking, something else might take place, right? So we should just keep walking. So that alone shows that the sister perspective is not always a bad thing. And that's what they make it as today, sisters and brothers, that the sisters can't make any decisions. And that's not true. That's not true. And that's why our, households, our families are, well, it's not why, sisters and brothers, but that's one of the main causes of why our women, feel powerless, because the man doesn't respect our perspective. When we are a unit, 360, he's 180, and you represent the other 180. And when you come together, you are now a 360 unit, sisters and brothers. So, getting into, the topic of submission, I've noticed that a lot of, people speak about this topic today on perspective. Oh, excuse me, sisters and brothers, on submission, about submission. Excuse me, I have the wrong color there. About submission, right? Now, sisters and brothers, in a relationship, okay, we're going to first read submission. What is the meaning of submission? It says the act of yielding to the authority of another. I'm going to read that again. The act of yielding to the authority of another. That's what submission is. Now, a lot of females today, they're willing to be submissive and they want to be submissive, right? Now, when you think of this word, you're thinking, I want to do what my man tells me to do, right? That's the first thought that comes to my mind when I hear that a woman wants to be submissive, right? That's the first thought that comes to your mind. Now, understanding what submission is would lead you to another, question. Because submission actually means to be, to enslave, but not to enslave. You're basically a slave to someone else because you're submitting to their authority, right? Their mindset, right? Right. So we have to understand that the woman today is in the condition that she wants to be submissive to her man, meaning do whatever he tells her to do, right? Because it makes them feel like they, are powerful, or whatever the case may be. Or, like I shared, strong. They put the women below the man, and that's what this is giving when you understand the actual meaning of submission. All right, sisters and brothers. So understanding that, you're submitting to someone else's mind, how they feel. So you're doing whatever another person tells you, whatever this person, your husband tells you to do, you're doing it. Whatever he's happy with, you're going to do it. You don't have to be happy with it, but as long as he's happy with that, you're going to do that. And that's what this word is telling us, right? That's what this, that's basically what the woman today is willing to do, right? For her man. Now, sisters, we have to understand that we have a mind of our own, right? So understanding that we have a mind of our own, There shouldn't be a situation of where I'm submitting to him. We have to understand that we have to come and understand each other. This is not a submission game when it comes to I submit to him and do what he says, or he submits to everything that I say and does everything that I say, right? Because we have to understand that each of us have a perspective, a mind. And just, what am I trying to, excuse me, sisters and brothers, just because, I don't like something that he's doing, it's not my job to change him, right? And that's what submission, it gives you that space to do, not, it doesn't give you that space to be yourself. That's what I'm trying to express, sisters and brothers. Being yourself is very important because it's you. That's who you are. If you're not being yourself, you're being other than yourself, right? Meaning you're in submission to someone, meaning you have submitted to what they want you to do. So that means you're not being yourself, right? Exactly. And nowadays a lot of men want a homeboy, someone to do everything they tell, or acts like them, and somebody they can mold and fold and change. However, sisters, we have to understand that we have our own backbone, and we have to understand that submission comes between when two comes together and you guys submit to each other. And that's what makes us one. Because we submit to one another when we come together, right? And we don't try to change each other at all. We allow that person to be themselves. And we listen to each other's perspective. Even know that you're not a woman, and even though you're not a man, you still should be able to listen, and take in the perspective of a man or perspective of a woman, because we are in fact equal. And this conversation is a little more difficult for men because a lot of men don't like to hear out a woman, listen to a woman, any of that. Because, like I shared, this world has taught you to feel mightier than the woman, right? When that's, that perspective is gone out of the window because you have women who are way more intelligent than men. I mean, or the same, meets the same level of intelligence. So that alone, especially for a woman who, knows that, what I'm trying to say, especially for a woman who wants to stand her ground as being, and that's how we should be, sisters, because sisters, we are Black women. We are the most powerful woman on the planet. Most powerful. They fear us. They fear our voices. And that's another reason why they try to shut our voices down. Because they fear our voices. Sisters, he got an attitude, or she got to stay. That's not what's taking place. They just fear your approach. So they label it with all these nasty labels, which is not the case. So, sisters, we have to understand that, yes, you are the beauty. And yes, the man is the strength, for sure. And we have to start to show that through our actions. And don't forget that our mind is beautiful as well. And we have to understand that, sisters and brothers, that if we, you know, if we don't show unity with each other in the home, then what will our children be looking at, have to look up to? However, like I haven't shared, we know that the enemy has come into our households and destroyed that unity, on top of the fact that we suffer from energy deprivation. However, that's another conversation, sisters. We want to focus on the fact of being in submission to your significant other, and understanding that the woman and man are equal. We are equal. So don't ever feel like you have, or are less than the man. Because everything that he can do, you can also do as well, sisters. They try to put titles to things. Oh, a man's supposed to change a tire. Or a man's supposed to do this. What is that? How does that make a man? And, if it doesn't mean that the man is supposed to do these things because he's the man. If this is something that you like to do, then and you can do that, then you can do that, right? So that the whole idea of men and women, you know, I'm not trying to express the fact that they try to put us in separate categories, as if the woman can't make any decisions, and that's why we're here today to put that to an end. Because sisters, you're just as powerful as a man. Period. Period. That's the point that we're making here. You're just as powerful as a man, right? So instead of submitting, lowering oneself to another, you all both can submit to each other. And each other mindsets, understanding one another. That's what we should be looking to do, right, sisters? Not just wanting to, excuse me, sisters and brothers, not just wanting to, do, I forgot the point that I was making. Oh my goodness, sisters and brothers, excuse me. The point is to understand, sisters, that you are, in fact, equal to the man. And when we come together as one body, with her mind, with her perspective and the man's perspective, that's beautiful. That's perfection, right? And that's how we should be thinking when we're, in a relationship with our significant other. Looking at his perspective, trying to see where he's coming from. Look at her perspective, see what she's saying. All in one truth, though. We have to understand that as well. So, in this world today, you have a lot of people, they come together, get together, they don't have the same values, or they don't believe in the same things. You have the wife is a Christian, the husband is a Hebrew Israelite. That's a lot of this world today. It's no unity um in what you both are doing together, right? There's no unity in that. So I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, sisters and brothers. However, the point, I think you all understanding my point. You all have to have the same views, not saying the same views, because like I shared, views will be considered a perspective of an idea. You both will have to understand, both be inclined with the same um, beliefs. There you go. There you go, sisters and brothers. That's because if you don't have that aligned, then it's going to be conflict. That's automatic. Period. Expected. Because you have one who believes this, and you have another who believes this, right? So it's conflict, constant conflict in your conversations, in what you do, because these people believe that I should do these things, and this person says I should do these things, or this says I should do this, right? So it's a conflict there. It's never you guys are just together because of I'm not sure why, because it's not because of here, because you all think totally different, right? You all have two different visions, right? So two different visions wouldn't work together. And if you all together, that it's no perspective in that anymore. At that point, you're talking about something totally different than what I'm speaking about. So, like I shared, that's automatic conflict when you have that. But when you all come together as one with the same vision, that's when you have that unity and perspective, right? And you have peace because you all think in the same direction, same vision, different perspectives, because you all are speaking about the same thing. Just I'm a man I'm a sister and he's a brother. That's the difference, right? That's the only difference there. And that's important because you and your significant other should have the same values, the same views, right? Just off top looking for a partner, you should look for that because that's automatically going to bring conflict into your household. But when you, like I shared, when you come together with the same views and knowing that the woman is the beauty and the man is the strength, then in understanding that, I'm not saying you will understand him because he's a man. I'm not saying that he will understand you fully because you're a woman. But understanding that he's the strength and you're the beauty, you all will have two different ways of thinking, right? But the same way of same vision, right? Right. So understanding that, you can find understanding in his perspective, right? That's what you're looking for. Not saying that you will, because you don't want to, a man doesn't want a woman that gets everything he says, everything he does. Oh, he just, at that point, you got a homeboy. Because at the end of the day, women don't understand men and men don't understand women unless we understand their perspective, right? What is being said. All right. So understanding that, you know, you're going to be different. It's okay to be different than your significant other because you are. You are. And that's why, sisters, it is important for you to take that stand again and understand that, sisters, you are not beneath the man at all. At all. Everything that he can do, you can do. Everything. Sisters, other than the fact of you being a woman and him being a man, the abilities that he's able to achieve with their mind, you are also able to do. So, submitting to one will be lowering yourself. We need to be uplifting ourselves. And a lot of sisters are willing to be in submission mode because they're used to that. We're used to obeying. We're used to doing because that's how the world works. But that's why it's important for you to understand that you all are one body. And they're not going to tell you that, but we're telling you that. You are one body. So without each other, you're nothing, right? You only have one half. So I need my other half so I can be complete, but I don't have this other half. And that leads you to another conversation when it comes to having that other half that you need because you're only 180. And she's the other half of you, which is telling you that you need a woman and that woman needs a man because you are one body. Not just 180. You're just 180 alone. You need that whole circle. We need that whole 360 in order for it to be completion, right? So the man needs the woman and the woman needs the man. Sisters and brothers, excuse me. We have to understand that I'm not going to go into depth into that conversation. However, we were once one body until the time of when we were, in fact, separated. The woman, the beauty, was taken and given to the woman, and the strength was given to the man, right? And that made two of us, man and woman. Prior to that, we were one body, which you all know as the term of hermaphrodites. Now, hermaphrodites will show you that because a hermaphrodite, in fact, has a vagina and a penis. So it has the man parts and the woman parts, right? So that's because that's just showing you how our creation used to be, right? Because we used to be one body. We birthed ourselves, right? We did things. You gotta understand what I don't want to get into the depths of that. I just want you to focus on that point. Understanding that we were once one body until that separation took place, which is why we still need one another in order for that 360 to be complete. In order for us to be complete, you need a woman, and the and the sisters need a man. 100%. You need that. You need your other half. Without it, you're just alone. You're alone. You don't have that other piece that you need. You're missing that other puzzle piece. And the world that we live in today, they have um, going to the other side, as I would say. Meaning females with females, men with men. Now, that is 100% confusion. And this is what they're promoting. This is what they're promoting 24/7. So we have to understand as Black men and Black women of America, we have to understand that we are being attacked 24/7 around the clock. You're trying to take the logic away from us, sisters and brothers. This is what's happening to the Black woman and the Black man in America today. So understanding that they're trying to abort our nation, you will understand that this is why this is the reason why they're doing that. They're trying to separate the man and the woman from being together, which will completely abort a nation, right? Because men cannot have babies. Two men together cannot have a baby. Two women together cannot produce. This is abortion at its finest. And this is what they're trying to do to our nation. Not only cause abortion, but also confusion, sisters and brothers. So that's why we have to take back our minds from these devils, because they're the reason why we're operating like we are. Now, sisters and brothers, we have to understand that our minds have been controlled by our enemies. Our operating system has been controlled, taken over, and controlled by our enemies. And their plan is to destroy the black family completely. Abort us. Abort mission. And this alone, this topic that we're speaking about today, the black man and the black woman being equal, that alone is a major fact on why the black woman and the black man are not able to come together. That's one of the major factors, is what I'm speaking about. These are things that it gets way more in depth on why our unity has been crushed. However, this that I'm speaking about, the black man and woman being equal, is a very important topic because the black woman has been thrown under the bus, under the rug for 400 plus years. Now, understanding that, if you understand that, because understanding that is understanding that the black woman kept our nation alive, literally, doing things, as you all will say, emotional things to keep our nation alive. Our perspective kept our nation alive. So understanding that simple fact alone should put in a man's mind, the brother's mind, that my woman knows what she's speaking about. I need to listen to her. Maybe I should start. That should be the new or not maybe, I should start. Or sisters as well. I should start. I am going to start listening, to my man's perspective. I am going to start listening to my woman's perspective, because she's not always wrong. Like they paint the picture out to be, as for women, to be wrong all the time. That's not the case. That's not the case. And our men are going to be in for a rude awakening when the woman actually rises up. Because when the black woman rises up, oh, you think we have an attitude now? That's what you think. Oh, you're going to think you're gonna think we're so angry. You don't know what's going. That's because our woman is going to realize who they are. They're gonna be so powerful. They're gonna be glowing, beautiful. And black man, you're gonna have to accept that. You're going to have to treat us as such. And a lot of men are going to fail because they're not going to want to do that. But those who do that, who will do that, because there will be brothers that do that, are a part, in fact, of our body because they made the changes to, you know, understand the black woman, just like we have to understand them, right? So that was the basis of, this conversation, sisters and brothers, to understand our power. We are powerful. One unit, one body coming together, understanding each other, one vision, two perspectives, one vision. That is so powerful, sisters and brothers. But and the reason why it's so powerful. They're trying to stop it in every way that they can. Our unity is so powerful. They try to stop it in every way they can. They're doing everything that they can to keep our nation dead. Because they know. If they was to let us go, to separate with us, then we will return back to who we are. And that's a righteous people, sisters and brothers. And then we'll remember exactly what took place, exactly what they did to our people, exactly what they did to us. And we are our ancestors, so exactly what they did to us. We're going to feel it. We're going to remember these things. Imagine that. Imagine how furious and angry we're going to be as a nation when we rise and realize our people are walking dead right now due to these devils. Sisters and brothers, once we wake up from this slumber, we are going to come together as a mighty nation. We are going to come together as a mighty nation, sisters and brothers. And this is what they fear. Us coming back to our nature, sisters and brothers. Us understanding each other. No conflict. Unity. Hajj. They fear these things. So they're tearing our nation apart, sisters and brothers. It's all the way to the point to where, our women and our men are going to, trying to have relationships with other people because they're not getting that, the woman's not getting that feeling of respect that she, however, that's the thing. I'm not saying that that's right for them to do. However, it shows the strength of the black woman to continue to deal with our men. And the opposite as well, brothers. It shows the strength of you to deal with the black woman, your woman, and not give up on her or you give up on him. That shows the strength of our nation. Even with not knowing what's taking place, we still stick with each other, regardless. And that shows the power that we have. Right? So imagine when all this is, when we come together. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. The strength and the beauty. One. The man respecting her perspective, sister respecting his perspective. It's going to be beautiful. It's like unprecedented. We haven't, I mean, I'm not saying it's unprecedented because it can be done, but it hasn't, that'll be amazing for the you know, black man and woman to show that because that alone, that unity alone is what they're trying to corrupt and break up. That's power. That's true power, sisters and brothers. That's the true power. Our unity. Us having the same vision. Coming together as one. And soon, sisters, we will be placed back on our pedestal where we deserve to be placed on. Because sisters, you suffered. You suffered enough. You are the strongest woman on this planet. And it shows through your actions. You're still going today. During the worst times in sisters and brothers, the worst act in history was done to the black man and woman of America, and we survived it. Our nation is still here today. They tried to do everything in their powers to get rid of us, and we're still here today. Whew. That shows the power of us. That shows the power of that black woman. Because without that woman, without that womb, how are we producing, right? That shows you that because we will be killed from having a baby by our own. Who are risking our lives for our nation. And it shows today that we risk our lives for our nation because we're here today to speak to our people today, to give them the light that they need in this time of great darkness. And it's approaching, and it's getting darker and darker and darker. Because they know that your rise is coming. So they're making sure that they're corrupting our nation 24/7. But once that hand is lifted up off of us, sisters and brothers, oh, we're going to be unstoppable. You're going to be unstoppable. The black family is going to be unstoppable. All right, sisters and brothers. So with that, that's what I wanted to speak on and touch on today. I hope I made points where you all understand the importance of our unity and us being one. Because one without the other is incompletion. When we have each other, we're complete, right? We're complete. 360. At 180 degrees, the man, woman, 180 degrees. And together, we're 360, full circle, right? We need each other. We need one another. Sisters, you need your man. Brothers, you need your woman. Listen to her. Listen to him. Don't try to change him. Don't try to change her. Y'all both like ice cream, right? She might like vanilla. You like chocolate. There's nothing wrong with that. You both like ice cream. It's just different flavors, right? And that's how we should, view things because it's, it's the same. Like I said, one vision, excuse me, sisters and brothers, one vision, two different perspectives, right? Exactly. Because you said I could be saying the same thing a brother is saying, this in another way. This another way. And it will come out another way because I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And it's not to get your man to understand how a woman thinks. That's not the point either. It's just for your man to understand who you are and that you also have a perspective, respecting that, you know? Because a lot of men want you to just shut up, be quiet. They want you to shut up and be quiet because you're actually smarter than them. I'm not saying that all men are not, but that is a lot of the case because they want you to, they treat you a certain way or say you can't come in conversations and speak when like that. That's all going to get cut, sisters and brothers. They make it seem like this is man conversation. No, we all have one vision, period. And we all have to meet the same criteria, right? In that vision, right? So there's nothing, what am I trying to express? One is being treated better than the other. No, it's none of that. Because at the end of the day, you have a mind just like he does, and you have to achieve the same things he has to achieve as well. Unity, Hodge, period. Now, the only difference between us is we have children that we have to bear and take care of. So that's the only, leeway you probably will have just to do those things. However, other than that, we're just like the brothers. We have to achieve the mind. We have to get our mind back 100%. And it's a work in progress. We're going to get it done. But you have to do these things. You have to achieve Hodge, just like everyone, the brothers, sisters, no difference. We have to keep ourselves on that pedestal. They're going to place us there. We're going to keep ourselves there through discipline. And the first thing we have to start doing is covering ourselves, sisters. Let's discipline our beauty. Because, like I said, the enemy, he's the reason. The enemy is showing you something other than yourself. And you're doing these things, right? That are other than yourself. This is why you're out here naked and things like that. That's not who you truly are. That's not who you are, sisters. You are queens, warrior queens. And disciplining your beauty will be covering yourself because you want it to be for your significant other, right? Exactly who we're talking about. He must not be so significant if you're going to show the world, right? Right. That's why you identify him as significant, right? Exactly. So we have a lot to work on as women, sisters, and also our men, And through these conversations that we have, I hope we are able to, understand one another and touch. And I'm able to touch someone that, was, fighting with this mind, with the submission thing, whole submitting to your man and doing our things. Because a lot of women are being downspoken because they don't want to, in fact, be under controlled from a man. And there's nothing wrong with that because the men are literally trying to control them. They want to be free, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So I understand that perspective. Not saying you have to disrespect your man. That's not what I'm saying. But I do agree with the perspective of women. A lot of women don't want to submit to a man. And there's nothing wrong with that. Your mind is your mind. There's nothing wrong with that mindset, in my opinion, because that means you're one to be a slave to what he tells you to do. Everything that he tells you to do, you must do it, right? And there's nothing wrong with women being against that, because that's when this perspective comes in, and then she starts to understand why she's feeling that way, because you all are equal. That's why. Equal. So what do I would take my equality and diminish it as if I don't have my own backbone? So I need to submit to another man, a man, excuse me, because submission, that conversation of submission, can go further as well. However, that's not the conversation we're speaking about. In that, in submission, we're focusing on submission, women submitting to men, right? Being a slave to their man. That's the focus I'm speaking about, right? So, sisters and brothers, I hope you all got something from this. And I, Sister Fatima Hodge, will be back with more. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.